All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're exploring how a historically isolated nation legally protects its sovereignty through a dense but truly fascinating document, the Bhutan Immigration Act of 2007. Now, this isn't just some standard list of rules. It is a meticulously crafted legislative blueprint designed to protect the very fabric of a unique nation in an increasingly borderless world.
We're starting at the very top of this document, with the royal emblem. It's an incredible symbol of the nation's unified strength and heritage. You know, when you first open up the 2007 Act, this is exactly what greets you. It instantly sets a tone of deep national pride and establishes that everything following it is an absolute mandate of the sovereign state.
Just listen to this powerful quote from the preamble. To ensure that the kingdom remains free from illegal immigrants and to retain control on the immigration of foreigners for the security and prosperity of the nation. It really sets the high stakes and the whole foundational philosophy behind every single legal mechanism we're about to unpack. Because for Bhutan, immigration isn't just an administrative task, it's an existential one. Every visa, every border check, and every regulation is explicitly tied to ensuring the security and ongoing prosperity of the kingdom.
To make sense of this 50-plus page legal text, we're going to filter it through 5 logical chapters: guarding the kingdom, pathways to entry, the visa system, grounds for refusal, and finally, offenses and penalties.
Chapter 1, Guarding the Kingdom, focusing on the immense power of the immigration officer.
Our journey really starts with the guardians at the gate. These officers act with full law enforcement capabilities. They can arrest and detain unauthorized foreigners, search private or official premises, and interrogate suspects. They can even seize vehicles, vessels, and records, or board and inspect any transportation. But here's what's truly striking. The law explicitly grants these officers total immunity from liability, as long as they're acting in good faith. They are quite literally the empowered front line of the nation's defense.
Moving right along to Chapter 2, Pathways to Entry, where we define the players.
What's really fascinating here is how the law rigorously categorizes everyone trying to cross the border. It creates this stark legal contrast between immigrants and non-immigrants. So if you're classed as an immigrant, like a foreign spouse of a Bhutanese citizen or a Tibetan holding a green card or refugee card, you actually possess the right to reside. But if you're a non-immigrant, say a tourist, a student, or a skilled worker, well, the legal burden is entirely on you. You only get temporary admission, and you literally have to prove your intention to leave once your time is up.
All right, Chapter 3, the visa system, structuring the stay.
So how does Bhutan filter its visitors? Well, there are 4 strict visa categories based entirely on exactly who you are and why you're visiting. No gray areas here. You've got the diplomatic visa for royalty, heads of state, and UN officials. Then the official visa, which is for government guests, professionals, and seminar attendees. The ordinary or tourist visa handles the bulk of everyday travel, your tourists, students, journalists, and consultants. And finally, the gratis visa is reserved specifically for exempted nationals. And the duration of your stay, that is tightly bound to your specific category. If you're just passing through in transit, you get exactly 48 hours. A tourist, you're capped at 90 days. A skilled worker might get a maximum of 1 year to contribute to the kingdom's economy, while a student could be granted up to 5 years, strictly depending on the length of their approved academic course.
But the oversight doesn't just stop once you're inside. Non-tourists have to follow a strict set of mandatory registration steps. First, you arrive in the kingdom. Then you have exactly 10 days to register at the nearest police station. And if you move, you've got 10 working days to notify the department in writing of your address change. Failing to follow these exact steps means you run the risk of instantly becoming an unlawful resident.
Which brings us to Chapter 4, Grounds for Refusal, the Inadmissibles. It really begs the question, right? What happens if things don't go smoothly? Exactly who gets turned away at the gates under the strict parameters of this 2007 Act?
Well, the law is incredibly detailed about who is deemed inadmissible. Bhutan enforces rigorous criteria, impartially targeting threats to national security, public health, and their cultural harmony. We're talking about engaging in espionage, subversion, or terrorism, having a serious or organized criminal record, or posing a danger to public health or safety. You can also be refused for an inability to financially support yourself. And, going beyond typical Western norms, anyone engaging in proselytization, showing disrespect to local religions, or participating in undesirable political activities is legally barred from entry to protect the nation's social fabric.
Now, what if you manage to get in, but break the specific rules of your visa? The Act strikes back hard. Violating the terms of a non-immigrant status results in a strict denial of re-entry for a continuous period of 5 years. That is a mandatory 5-year ban with absolutely zero exceptions written into the clause.
Finally, Chapter 5, Offenses and Penalties. The consequences.
Let's look at the severe legal consequences if you violate Bhutanese immigration law once you're already inside the borders. The legal funnel narrows down rapidly. Failing to register in time? That's a basic violation. Knowingly obstructing an immigration officer? Now you're facing a petty misdemeanor. Bringing in unauthorized foreigners is a full misdemeanor. It gets worse. Hiring unauthorized foreign workers or smuggling them is a 4th-degree felony. And the absolute most severe penalty listed here, a 3rd-degree felony, is reserved for forging or altering official immigration documents.
But the ultimate tool of enforcement is the absolute power of the immediate removal order. Immigration officers possess the authority to effect immediate removal for inadmissibility without any further hearing or review. Think about that for a second. The department can detain a foreigner at an immigration center for up to 1 week before the civil courts even get involved. This applies whether you entered illegally, worked without a valid permit, or just refused to leave after being ordered to do so. So after walking through all these specific rules, visas, and penalties, we gain a really clear understanding of how this sovereign state operates. And it leaves us with a provocative thought to wrap up this explainer. How do the legal borders we strictly enforce ultimately define our nation's identity in the modern world? The Bhutan Immigration Act provides a brilliantly clear, structured, and unapologetic answer to that exact question.